Hello, my name is Kaylee Romo, and I will be presenting on Patrick Tillman. Patrick Daniel Tillman was born on November 6, 1976, and he was the oldest of three boys, having two younger brothers, Kevin Tillman and Richard Tillman. Pat was known as the protective older brother who was always leading his younger brothers into either trouble or just being a natural born leader to whatever they used to do when they were younger. Pat Tillman went to Leland High School in San Jose, California, where he found his passion for playing football, and he excelled in the classroom and on the football field and won many awards in both. Pat Tillman's football career started when he was in high school. He was a very little kid, standing at 5'11", so very small for a football player. But he loved to hit people, is what his family kind of described him doing, just having a love for, going out and hitting people. And so he chose football as his main sport that he wanted to play. He started as a defensive linebacker for his football team and led his high school football team to a Division I football championship. After high school, he was offered a scholarship to play at Arizona State University, where he led the team in 1997 to an undefeated, successful season, and also led them to the Rose Bowl. After that, he had numerous awards both on the field and in the classroom. He was known as a very smart student as well as a very passionate football player. And then in 1998, he was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals, and he was the starting linebacker from 1998 to 2001 for the Arizona Cardinals. After the events of 9/11, Pat Tillman decided that he wanted to put his football career on hold, and he wanted to enlist in the Army with his brother, turning down a 3-year, $3.6 million contract with the Arizona Cardinals to enlist. This became kind of a shock to a lot of fans, as well as to his family members and his friends. They didn't really truly understand or believe why he decided to enlist in the Army and kind of put his career on hold and kind of give up everything that he had with his football career to go into the Army. And after the events of 9/11, the Cardinals did videos of all the players, and in Pat Tillman's video, he stated that sports embodied many of the qualities I deem meaningful. However, these last few years, and especially after the recent events, I've come to appreciate how shallow and insignificant my role is, and it is no longer important. I have done nothing. It is my time to do something. And Pat's family members, after seeing that video, knew that even before Pat knew it, that was his kind of turning point in his decision to leave football and join the Army. And so in 2002, him and his brother trained to become Army Rangers, to go into their first tour in 2003, which was a 3-year tour in Iraq. About halfway through his first 3 years in his first tour, Pat was able to come home to see his family and was so taken back by the events and some of the things that he had seen in Iraq that in a documentary called The Tillman Story, Pat Tillman's wife, Marie Tillman, stated that he wasn't different, but there was something different about him after seeing everything that he has seen in Iraq, and him knowing that he was doing something good and he was trying to make a difference because of all the bad things that were happening in Iraq. However, right before Pat Tillman went back to his tour in Iraq, he was faced with an opportunity that would change his life, and in some people's eyes, more than likely would have saved his life. But there was a deal between the military and the NFL that was kind of a backdoor deal, stating that since Pat had already seen a year of combat, that if he wanted to discharge, he had a football career, and was offered a job with one of the NFL teams to come back and resume his football career. In the deal, the military honored that he would be immediately discharged with honors and he could return to his football career as a brave soldier. When Pat talked to this coach about this deal, he respectfully declined it, stating that he had a job to do and that he had made a commitment to a 3-year tour and he planned on seeing that commitment out, and he wasn't about to just leave in the middle of his tour when his country needed him, and the events that had gone on in Iraq were more important than the deal that he would make to stay and play football. Shortly after Pat Tillman returned to his tour in Afghanistan and Iraq on April 22nd, 2004, Pat and his platoon were sent on a mission that led them through a canyon in eastern Afghanistan. While they were on this mission, the platoon's vehicle broke down and the team was ordered to split into 2 groups. One group staying with the vehicle, waiting while another vehicle approached them to tow it out, and the other group was to set out on foot to continue with the mission that they were on. Pat and a few other members of his platoon were part of the group that were to set on foot through the canyon. Somewhere along the lines, they came back down through the canyon. It is a little unclear on what drew them back. A few say that they had heard an explosive device, causing them to think that there were enemy lines around, bringing them back to where the other members of their platoon were. And as they traveled back down through the canyon, shots were starting to be fired at them. And as they took cover, one of those shots hit Pat Tillman in the head and killed him instantly. Pat Tillman's family was told that he was killed in an ambush in combat by the Taliban. And at his funeral, he was honored with a silver star that resembled his bravery and courage as a soldier fighting for his country. At his funeral, there were multiple military personnel, officers in command, and even President Bush, who said wonderful things about Pat Tillman and the courage he had to fight for his country and how he fought, how he was killed during combat and, went down as a fighting soldier. A few weeks later, it was discovered that Pat was not killed in combat or was not ambushed by the Taliban, but he was killed in what is known as a friendly fire, which is a term used when a soldier is killed by members of his own platoon. After finding out this news, Pat's mother and his family spent 4 long years trying to figure out the truth behind his death and why they tried to cover it up, saying that he was killed in combat when he was really killed by members of his own platoon. and it rose a lot of questions that still kind of circle around our military and our government to this day. Pat Tillman's story has made a huge impact not only on the world of sports, but on our society as well, for the way that Pat Tillman was killed and the questions that arise from why there's so much secrecy on how he was killed and why he was killed, and why the military and the government tried to hide or essentially cover up the truth about Pat Tillman's death. It's been 15 years, and there is still no real answer behind why this happened or real justice that has come from Pat Tillman's death. But aside from all that, he has made a huge impact on showing how bravery and courage go a long way, from leaving behind essentially a $3.6 million contract to join the military, and then again leaving another opportunity to go back into the NFL to play as a football player that could have essentially saved his life, but he chose to turn it down because he wanted to honor his commitment to being a soldier. That is what he set out to do, and that is his way of showing that, there are no sport or no amount of money that is ever greater than your achievements or your goals. And he showed that through his actions and through his achievements, not only as a football player, but as a soldier, that bravery and courage, they go a long way. And he was a great football player and an exceptional soldier who wanted nothing but to serve his country and make a difference in the world as a soldier. He is a huge sports figure that has made such an impact on fans in the sports world, in military personnel, and just on society as a whole. And he will be continued to be admired by all these people who want to hear his story and want to know more about what bravery and courage and commitment look like. That concludes my presentation on Pat Tillman. If you are looking to know more about the story of Pat Tillman, or don't really know a whole lot about who he is and what he has done, I highly suggest watching the documentary The Tillman Story, which is referenced right here in my references. And it shows a pretty good idea of what all happened with Pat Tillman and who he was as a person and as a football player and a soldier. And it has a lot of information that can really open your eyes to a lot of things. Thank you.